Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Vegan Spirituality online gathering. My name's Lisa Levinson, and I am the campaigns director for In Defense of Animals. I founded Vegan Spirituality and co-founded the Interfaith Vegan Coalition. And vegan spirituality is a wonderful opportunity to gather with like-minded souls to explore veganism as a spiritual practice. And we do this by gathering online every couple months here to interview leaders in the vegan spirituality movement. And we also meet in person at different groups around the nation. We have a vegan spirituality group in Los Angeles that meets every month. We have one in Philadelphia that meets every month and one in New York City. So you can join those groups by finding out more at veganspirituality.com, or you can go to the In Defense of Animals website at idausa.org. And from there, you can find out more as well. Here we are tonight to join online our virtual gathering, and it is my pleasure to welcome my co-host, Judy Carmen, who is also a co-founder of the Interfaith Vegan Coalition and the author of two incredible books, Peace to All Beings and Homo Ahimsa. Hi, Judy.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you for that very sweet introduction. I'm so thrilled to be here and so excited to see Thomas again. And for those of you who don't know who Thomas is, I think most people do, but my goodness, we've got people from Australia all over the place. In the chat, I'm seeing just coast to coast and other countries. It's wonderful. So let me introduce Thomas, and then we'll hear from him, which is going to be very exciting because Thomas has done so much for the movement, for vegan spirituality, and for animals. Thomas Wade Jackson is an award-winning filmmaker and musician, best known for his animal rights documentaries, A Prayer for Compassion, and the docuseries Compassion in Action, Bringing the Elixir Home. Both are just phenomenal. A passionate advocate for compassion and veganism, Thomas has spent years blending his creative talents with his commitment to a kinder world. He is I lost my place, sorry. Recently, he has returned to his first love, music, leading the folk rock band Sunshine Lemonade. Is that not the neatest name? And using his art to inspire positive change through uplifting, soul-stirring songs. Thomas is using his music with Sunshine Lemonade to reach beyond the vegan community, which is so important to all of us, offering uplifting songs that inspire a broader audience. Through this endeavor, he hopes to introduce listeners to his deeper work around compassion, as explored in his films, A Prayer for Compassion and Compassion in Action. So, without further ado, Thomas, I can't wait to hear from you. But that, like I said, there may be a few people who don't know you, and I think it would be great for all of us to hear a little history of how you went vegan, and tell us also about Melody, how she's doing, your wonderful daughter, who is in your film, one of your films, maybe both of your films. I think she is, yeah. And how you got into film and music.
Awesome. First of all, I just want to say how wonderful it is to be here with everyone tonight, especially you and Lisa, who I really haven't seen in so long. It feels like it was a period we were seeing each other all the time, and then the quarantine happened, and then I saw you maybe one other time after that. And but if the quarantine hadn't happened, I think I never would have got off the road. I never would have finished the docuseries. I think so many things would not have transpired. But yeah, for those who don't know me, and for those who do, forgive me because I'm going to repeat some things. But I grew up in South Georgia, I was raised in a small town and went to Baptist church, and we ate every kind of animal product you can imagine, and then it would be in my mid 30s when I was living in New York when I finally went vegan. And that was the reason that happened is, there was a period of a couple years there where I started getting into meditation. I was in California a little bit, and then I was in Nashville, California. I ended up in New York, and each place I was just beginning to get my spiritual journey was just taking off a little bit more. And in Nashville, I had discovered Unity, and then the minister there introduced me to the Unity of New York. So I was going to Unity of New York. I was volunteer coordinator. I was doing all the workshops and just trying to become more spiritual. But I think what really did it for me, because this was in 2005, it's hard to believe that there was a time before YouTube. This was before YouTube. This was before, I mean, I had never heard the word vegan. I didn't know any vegans. It was not a common thing. Even in New York, in my circles, in the spiritual circles of Unity, it was not a common thing. But when I started meditating every day, I really became present in my life. And so when I went to eat something that was a dead animal, like I connected it because, I grew up in the South. I saw my grandmother wring the necks of chickens. I saw animals killed for food. And so I was aware of it, but I had buried it really deep. And the more I was becoming present and the more I just couldn't ignore it. And it was just like, do I really want to participate in the violence as I'm trying to grow? So I knew what vegetarian was, so I became a vegetarian. And within about a week or and a half or so, I was in a deli in New York, and I was just, ordering something, and so proud. I was like, make sure it's vegetarian. And the guy behind the counter was like, vegetarian or vegan? I'm like, vegan? What the heck is vegan? And he said that means no animal products. And this little voice in the back of my head went off, and I was just like, I don't know why that is or why people would do that, but I'm vegan. I just announced I was vegan at that moment, and I just became vegan. And then I discovered what vegan was by this website called Super Vegan that gave you all the restaurants in New York. You could put in where you are, and you could see all the restaurants that had vegan options, or and they would have little blogs or whatever going. And so as I was looking for restaurants, I would see this information that was about what the reason the energy of the food was feeling bad for me. I became consciously, even though I knew animals were killed for food, I had no idea how bad it was for animals in factory farms and just all animals in general. So the more I learned, the more it was clear for me. But but I guess I'd been vegan about 8 years or almost a decade when Melody was born. And about a year after that, I saw Cowspiracy. And that really shook me because I had no idea about the environmental impact. I was all about spiritual, being nonviolent. That was just clear to me. Like I didn't want to participate in that, but I didn't have any idea about how much the environment was being destroyed by this industry, So, and it really freaked me out having a daughter. I was like 46 at the time or so, if she was one, and I was thinking, man, I don't know how many more years I have on the planet with her, but if we leave the planet in this really awful condition, like what's going to happen? So I just started praying and meditating about it, and that's where the prayer for compassion came about. The first thing that happened in the meditation, I remembered that when I first went vegan and I was going to the Unity Church, we would go to brunch sometime and we would do these things, and I would see the ministers and I would see all these people who were teaching me these lessons about how we were all connected and how, to love everything and have compassion for everything. I would see them eating dead animals, and it didn't connect. But I was kind of young in Unity and young in veganism, didn't know any other vegans. It was basically like live and let live, and and up until I discovered the environment was being destroyed, and then that becomes a little more, I have skin in the game at this point. My daughter is born, and so I got really motivated, and you know, to this day I live in a camper in the woods, but somehow I managed to travel the world a couple times and make a documentary, and then take it back around, and as we took it around, make a docu series out of it. You know, So we'll talk more about that just briefly because you had mentioned it. Like I could talk all night. You gave me that one question. I could talk hours answering that question. But film and music, how they came into my life. Music was first. I remember writing songs for the church choir when I was like a young youth choir when I was 7 or 8. So that was like 50 years ago. And then at 17, I got my first guitar, and within learning 2 chords, I was writing songs. I took some piano lessons at one point, but I never could like the music part, but we still had the piano. So once I learned chords on the guitar, I transposed them to the piano and started writing songs on the piano. So songwriting is just something that's been in me. And every time I made a movie, I always write songs for the movie. And sometimes there's usually a character in the movie who's a songwriter. It's just this crazy thing uh, that I think that's the basis for me. Like, I got away from it for a while, and the quarantine brought it back to me. And I realized, like, all the things I learned taking this movie around, all the things I learned doing Q&As and doing talks and things are just, they make the performance now and the storytelling and the set. Like, I have a set I've been working on called Heal Yourself with Rock and Roll, because that's one of the songs we wrote. And all of that is just fed by what I learned going around, just meeting so many people and learning that it really is about showing up every day. I learned that this is what happened in India the last time I was there for 3 weeks. And there came a point I realized all I got to do every day is show up and love everybody I meet. And it's going to be mirrored right back to me. In India, it's even stronger because everybody's just so present. But it's everywhere. Like I say, in the United States, like, the first night I went to this open mic night a few weeks ago, the guy who runs it, like when I met him, he said, "I know." He just felt he knew me. It's just your smile. There's some energy. You know what I mean? And I think it's because I'm so open and full of love for everybody. And when you're in your flow and you're doing the thing that creates you and gives you that you're here to do, it's just there's nothing better. Like, I live in a camper for the rest of my life if it means I can continue to create and love people and uplift people. So that's a long, short answer. And if you any other things you want to know within that timeline, I'm happy to answer. If anybody has questions about specific, like making films and going to film school or any of that stuff, if you have any interest, I have lots I can talk about.
Yeah, your life has just been so amazing, Thomas. And just to think that how you became vegan and then all of this amazing stuff came out of that.
It's
And
it's crazy.
yeah, and to go
What,
to Unity.
When
Go
you
ahead.
said when you said that, when you said you became vegan and and even before you said amazing stuff came out of it, what I was going to tell you is that I was living in when I first moved to New York, I lived in Crown Heights a little bit. I rented a room from this guy who was kind of sketchy, and then I lived in Harlem for a while with this guy who was sketchy. I went vegan, and a couple years after that, I ended up winning the lottery in the sense of the housing lottery. I ended up with a brand new uh, a studio apartment in the East Village, and the month after I moved in, they opened up a brand new Whole Foods a block away. And the whole time all this happened, I always felt like this is the karma from going vegan. Like, I really like there's something to this thing. And so yeah, you mentioned
Has to
amazing things
be.
happening. Right away, I noticed that. And I'll tell you the other thing too. After taking the journey and before taking the journey, but especially after taking the journey and making the film, I'm not going to tell you I don't have doubts, I don't get down, but it's hard to stay there because I feel like even when you're going through something, it's cause there's a purpose for it. The universe is working on something right then. So when you come out of that, you got all this ready for that. So I've just learned to have great faith and just show up to do the work. That's the main thing. If you show up every day or as much as you can for whatever your passion is and just say, use me, the universe will usually do it.
That's one of the main things that I've noticed about you, Thomas, is your super faith and your ability to be present. It's just been such an inspiration to me. But I wanted to ask about your adventures in creating the prayer for compassion. I mean, it literally took you around the world. And I know there you just had so many amazing stories. And also, we need to tell everybody how they can still show that film. Um, I have shown it myself numerous times, and then had Q&A afterwards, and sometimes with you. And it's just such a great experience because so many people are in tears, or they're saying, I'm gonna go vegan, I get it now. But it's putting the spiritual aspect together with the animals and what they're going through, and honoring them as sacred beings is just so I don't know, so revolutionary about your film. So, but tell us about some of your adventures, taking it, going around the world to film.
Yeah, interesting. There were so many synchronicities, so many things that happened. The first kind of synchronicity that happened is after getting the idea, Victoria was the first person I reached out to, and I interviewed her, and she set me up to interview Dr. Tuttle. He was in Florida, and I went and interviewed him, and I made this little bitty teaser trailer of like, I'm making this documentary. And about a few weeks later, I get this call or a message from somebody in Arizona. It's at the Illumination or something film festival, and they're like, "We want to screen your film," and I'm like, "What film?" Like it was at the beginning of it, And at that point, I thought, okay, so I'm going to go do this 6 months or whatever, do some interviews and around the United States. It'll be easy, be done. It was a 4-year process before it was all done, and I went places I never intended to go, but I told her I didn't have it, but what she did, and I didn't realize it, is she knew Silas, and she mentioned it to Silas, and he's was co, like, of all crazy things, the movie that inspired me, Cowspiracy, he was a producer on Cowspiracy, so she mentioned it to him, and he said, "Hey, here's some money, get going," kind of thing, and he was the first person, and all along the way, like the money would just show up, and the things that needed would show up right when they were needed. And that, like I said, all along the way, especially at the beginning, I'm like, I want to get done with this thing, but then I would always just try to say yes. One time when Silas asked me to go to Morocco, I got to go to the UN climate conference in Morocco, and that's one of the places we went. At that time, I had already spent all the money going to all these other places, and I told him, I said, my heart says yes, and if possible, I will, but right now, and I wasn't going to ask him for any more money, but and he said, "Okay, let me know because I got this pass and I'm going to need to pass it on." Within a day, Holger from China, who's originally from Germany, reached out to me and said, "Hey, I saw your video and read this thing. I was just thinking the other day, this, and this, and then I read this thing and saw this thing you'd written, and I was like, that's exactly what I was thinking. Here's another thing. Keep going." And that was just like that all along the way. So that's how I learned to develop faith. Like, every time I get to that last little part, I'd be, okay, God. And there was other parts where you'd be working so hard editing where you be having to explode and pee before you get up, or go eat a peanut butter sandwich and that's all you had all day because you got to get this done. And then the next day, this grant would come out of the blue you thought never was there. It's like, who's watching me? Like, what's going on? Like there's these unseen forces that really are on our side and want us, like if we say we'll do it, because it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work. Just going, getting yourself together, taking a bunch of equipment. The first time I went to overseas, like to India, I took all this equipment and then half of the bag got lost, and then I had to make do, and you're dragging around all this stuff. Like it's a lot of work, but in the end, when we got the movie and we were taking it around, it was beautiful. Because I'll tell you what I discovered is the thing that was bothering me, or the thing that that bothered me when I would ask the question, how can a compassionate spiritual being participate in such a violent, destructive industry? That there's so many people that have that same feeling. And when they see the film and when we go around, they go, "Oh my God, I felt that forever," And so the kinship was amazing. In India, we did this one screening, and this guy, he was about 16-year-old. He texts his mom halfway through saying, "I want to go vegan," And then his mom later said, "He's such this meat eater. He doesn't even like vegetables." Like, so the film was impactful. It was beautiful, and I don't take any credit for that because if I had made the film I was thinking to make, it would be nothing like that. That the universe made that film by all the people showing up at the right times and me just saying yes. The only thing I can take credit for is I continued to say yes at times I didn't know how. And But yeah, all the good stuff in my life, all the good creative projects, the songs, everything that's really good, is nothing I sat down intentionally to write that thing. I sat down and said, I'm open. Let's here's some progression, some melodies, and then these things will come through, and you're like, wow, there's a song here, you know. And sometimes the words and stuff may take a few days. Usually those progression and melodies, you find this song, and you, oh my God, there's this thing here. What are the words, you know? And and then you just show up, and if you show up enough, you'll eventually figure out all those words, and you'll move on to the next one. Or sometimes I'll have three or four going, but yeah. And so the exciting moments going to India was exciting for me. Going back to India was even more exciting. Being joined there by Jerome Flynn, who became our executive producer, an actor from Game of Thrones, which I'd never seen. But everybody in India knew who he was. Every Q&A, it was like, you know, we had superstar with us, and it was really cool. And what's really cool that I love about this, and that I want to encourage anybody who's seen A Prayer for Compassion, who hasn't seen it, who watches it, if you like that movie, like you're gonna love the docuseries. I think, like, take the time. The docuseries is more experiential because was given a GoPro, or I bought a GoPro before I went to India, or before I went to the docuseries. Somewhere along the way, I ended up with a GoPro, and so all these places we go in the docuseries, like, you get to go there with us, and you get to be on the train in India with Dr. Rao, talking to this guy who overheard him, you know, and explaining dairy and explaining the pollution, and you know, and you get to go to all of these sanctuaries, and there's really nothing violent in it. Although in India, I did go to a wet market, which was very powerful experience for me. And but it's really like, compared to A Prayer for Compassion, which has little snippets of implied violence and nothing bloody, but the other is like just fun and games. And Melody gets to go to in the docuseries. She gets to go to London with me, and Paris and Scotland, and around the United States. We see each other in the docuseries. We premiere the film at the Vegan World 2026, and you and Lisa are all the way through the docuseries, at the very beginning and at the very end. It ends at the Unity Retreat, just like the film ends. The last interview is at Unity, because what I discovered making the film, spoiler alert if you hadn't seen it, is that the founders of Unity were basically vegan. They were vegetarian. They wouldn't work for vegan, but they were and they were teaching that. They were preaching it, and they were all this writings about it. And guess what? Nobody at Unity told me about it, but somehow it got through. Somehow that spirit got through, and I discovered that. So the docuseries is a 7-part series, and we were able to have the first vegan spiritual retreat and forum, which I think you just had maybe last weekend, or just about to have, which was beautiful. That's how we get to end it. So we got to bring unity in twice, and we get to challenge unity in the docuseries. We get to go there and say, hey, can you do something about revising these teachings of the Fillmores? So there's lots of exciting things that happen, and you know, it's over this 8-year period. So in the middle of it, it feels like these long periods of just sitting around. This is, you know, like, it was not that exciting except for moments, but when you put it all together, that's the beauty of being able to edit it and have this to remember it by. It's pretty exciting for a guy who lives in the woods. Yeah.
So how can everybody show the film and the docuseries? How can they find it and then show it to audiences?
Well, I tell you, you can see both. You know, there's different ways to see both of them. They're both on Unchained TV. If you have that app, they're both on that. They're both on YouTube. The Compassion Project's YouTube page, even just searching their names will bring them up. They're all free to see. If you want to screen it, I would probably give you a link where you can download it, so you can not have to worry about internet connection. And I love to do Q&As, virtual or in person, however. But I'll say that um, because it's free and you can watch it or whatever. But I agree with what you're kind of hinting to, Judy, is that when you see it as a group, it has an effect in a way that maybe it doesn't when you're sitting at home, safe in your own thing. But when you're sitting there with other people, you know, it can. It can affect you. And
Right.
mention my daughter. The only thing I didn't answer to is about my daughter, who inspired the film because when she was born and all this I discovered, and she's all the way through the films. You see her from, footage of her growing up, but we started making the film when she was about 3. So you see her interacting at that age. And I think when we end up, she's probably around 10 or so. She's just turned 12 this month, and she's been doing some plays and things in the youth theater. She just did Matilda, where she was the understudy and got to have a day where she got to do the lead. It's her first lead role. She was in Annie and all these other plays. She usually like an orphan and things. And this is her chance to show she could carry the lead, and she did great. Like, I'm so proud.
Oh, I'll bet you are. And of
Mm.
course, she has you to have taught her all about performing and music and all of that. So that's kind of a good segue into talking about Sunshine Lemonade.
Mm.
So how did all that come about?
Sunshine Lemonade. Okay. Well, I mentioned I've been writing songs for a long time, and and I played, and then film school happened, and it kind of, because before film school I was thinking of, I'm going to be a music, I'm going to write music, I'm going to go to Nashville. In film school I made a movie called The Road to Nashville. And it's the only one I think I played the lead in, because it was basically, it wasn't my story really, because this guy was not me, but it's the idea of like Nashville's always this thing that's been talked about but never done kind of thing. But when I graduated from film school, I stayed on an extra year. And this guy I went to film school with, he was a year behind me. His name is Sam Beam. And some people may know Iron and Wine. They've been up for a Grammy, and he's all over, like, he's pretty well known. And but this is before he was well known. He's just my film school alum buddy, and he lived in South Carolina, and he wanted to check out Nashville, and I was thinking of moving up there, leaving, and so he drove me up there, and we did our first little open mic night together and stuff, and then he went down to Miami. He was teaching, and then but he sent me this song in film school. He made all these productions in his room, all these beautiful, sweet songs, and then along the way, this is a Sub Pop in Seattle found him, and then I was in Nashville for a while, and I was living with these bluegrass pickers who were up for Grammy of the Year, and Sam would call me and say, "Yeah, man, I'm picked up by this thing in Great Seattle. Yeah, that sounds cool, Sam. Cool, whatever." But by the time I got to New York, like the first second day I was in New York, he played his first concert there, and it was Mercury Lounge, and it was incredible. Like all these, because it was a showcase of all the Sub Pop people, and they're mainly grunge people. And then here he is with his guitar and all these people quiet. Now I thought he was going to be ate alive, but every year he'd come back and he would play a bigger venue, and I'd watch him grow, and I would say, "Oh man, it's doable." I'm like, I could see it happening. But he's this prolific poet who is just writes these profound like lyrics, like way beyond what was writing, or I could never write like Sam. Comparing yourself to anybody is always the death or whatever. But at the time, it was pushing me. And so in New York, there was a period where I was living in this studio apartment that I had won the lottery with, and had my little setup, and I was writing like crazy. I'd lived in Nashville with songwriters. I'd been around Sam. It was just so real. And so a lot of the songs that we've recorded lately, or in the last year or two, and put redone it, was stuff that was written then, because it was just really good stuff, but I didn't have a way to produce it. So, so cut to, I am writing all this stuff and I want to record it. And the really funny part is I'm working at a recording studio that nobody used as a recording studio, and I don't know how to use it. It's back in the day with all this stuff. And so I still couldn't do it, but I need a musician. So I set a little intention. At Unity, I asked this musician there who played every Sunday. I said, where do I go meet musicians to play in a band with me or whatever? He said, go to the Bag It In on Wednesday, and it's an open mic, and you'll meet people there. So I was leaving Harlem. This is before I won my lottery. Before I left the room, I said a little prayer. I said, let me meet somebody, whatever. And the funny thing was, I got in the Bag It In, I sat down, and I said something to the bartender or whoever, and then this guy said, "Where are you from?" I said, "I'm from Bainbridge." He said, "I'm from Tallahassee, but we grew up 40 miles from each other." He happens to be this amazing bass player, upright bass player. We're the best friends. Like, we became best friends in that moment. But he's the guy who I started the band with, and these harmony singers I used to do harmony with up there. And so one Sunday, going to Unity Church, where I was a volunteer coordinator, early in the morning, I kept trying to think of a name. Well, he doesn't call himself Sam Beam. He calls it Iron and Wine. So I said, I'm not going to call it by me. I'm going to come up with a name. So I was coming up with a name, and got onto the subway one morning, and it was so funny. I heard that somebody, I can't remember if they said sunshine or lemonade, but it's like I walked in and they either looked at me and said lemonade, or they said sunshine, and immediate in my thought I heard lemonade. Like the two, I heard the words put together. And I said sunshine lemonade. So that's how that started. And then when I moved, I met my daughter's mother, and we moved up. I moved back to Tallahassee area. Tyler, my friend who I met, the musician, he moved before I did back home. And then I ended up moving home. Then we met the drummer friend who went to film school that I went to, who's also a technical guy. And that was it. We started producing music at that point. I would record it on my laptop and stuff. My friend, the drummer, he's got all this amazing equipment, and he's a tech guy, and he can just give me a stereo of everything. And then I go record the bass player, and I'd go record violin, because it would just take your laptop, go to a musician and say, add something to this. And that's kind of how it started. So many people have played and been part of it, but the three core are the three of us who, like, we can go out just the three of us and we'd be fine.
Wow, that is so inspiring to hear how something like that could come together. And of course, it makes sense the way that you trust the universe that it would all happen that way. But I think everybody would love to hear at least one of your songs. Have we got a good way to play it
Did
tonight?
do you have that link I sent you to the Common Ground? Because I imagine somebody has a faster internet. Probably not best for me to try to send it. If you don't have it, I can find it.
Lisa, have you got it?
Hmm. Um, I
Let's
don't
see.
remember seeing it.
Here it is right here.
Thomas, if you could send it to
There it
Lisa,
is. Oops.
we could at least try it.
Yep. Uh,
I think her internet's probably the best.
okay. I got it. I just got to send it to you.
Okay, sounds good. What a treat to hear about how you started the band
There
with
you
the
go.
name and everything. So cool.
So this song is actually was written earlier this year, I think, and it's one of the ones that came through all at once. And also, as soon as I wrote it, I played a version and put it online. I never do that. I want to produce it. I want to do many takes and make sure everything's right. I put it right online because it felt so important to me. Like, it's called Common Ground, and it's just the idea of there's so many things dividing us, and that we have to. If we don't find common ground, it's not going to work out. Whatever. I forget the lyrics. You'll hear it. And luckily, this video has the lyrics written out, so you can actually read them as well.
Oh, great.
And although this is a produced version, I married it to the three of us playing in Ian's studio area. So you'll get to see the three of us jamming together. Did you find it? I'm emailed it. I don't know if you got the email. Okay,
I
perfect.
did. I did. Just getting it all together on this thing. right. I'm going to share that now. I think I've got the right one up.
Yep.
Mark my words and write them down. Pay attention to what I say. Stop worrying about the future now. Let go of yesterday. Hallelujah. Now let's all get together. Let's all sing a song. 'Cause if we can't find common ground, then we ain't got very long. Don't believe the hate they say. Yeah, don't believe their lies. 'Cause their whole plan is to separate, to conquer and divide. They're aware that together we will find ways to unite. All their secret evil schemes will be defeated by the light. Hallelujah. Now let's all get together. Let's all sing a song. 'Cause if we can't find common ground, then we ain't got very long. Let's raise our voice in peace and harmony. Shine our light and love throughout the burn trees and hallelujah. Now let's all get together. Let's all sing a song. 'Cause if we can't find common ground, then we ain't got very long. If we can't find common ground, then we ain't got very long.
So we
Oh,
ready to make
that's
this.
awesome. Thomas, that
Yeah,
was
you know,
so great.
what's interesting is that we have a wide variety of like I don't write like a country song or I don't write a rock song. There's a lot of groovy stuff like that. We've got some that's got lead guitars that are in harmony together, and then there's some that's just a ukulele, the bass, and some brush drums. You know what I mean? Like we call it folk rock, whatever, because it's a
Okay.
mixture of and a lot of the songs either a lot of songs are uplifting, you know, they're upbeat a little bit, and they all have kind of an uplifting message, or
Mhm.
sometimes metaphysical in a way. Like, you know, some songs will have just things that I've learned along the way, especially the ones I was writing in New York, man. The stuff that was coming out in New York when I was in the middle of like learning all those spiritual laws. They were pop songs or rock songs, but they had this undercurrent of something there. I don't know.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm thinking, Lisa, maybe we should open for Q&A because there may be questions and we are getting close.
Yeah.
So,
Sure. Well, what fun, Thomas. I loved hearing your band, and I love the concept and the idea of sunshine lemonade. It's so nice. There's also making lemonade out of lemons. That's another thing that
Yeah,
mhm.
actually, we have a song called um, Sunshine in My Pocket, that the last thing mentions that. But really quick, one thing I'll tell you that we hadn't talked about is what I really want to do next year is we're going to finish this next album. Like, we just released one that we remastered and stuff, remixed and added stuff to that did in 2007 to 2011. And because we were working on this other for 2 years, and we're so proud of it, I'm like, we got to get some other stuff on streaming just in case when people find this, they'll go, what else have they done? So we released that one, and this other's coming. But I want to do a tour called Heal Yourself with Rock and Roll, a one-man tour with guitar, harmonica, and go to, I already got the East Coast kind of figured out. Go to the places that I went to in the documentary and the docuseries where we screened the film. And what I wanted to do is try to set up a one day we're at a venue that's just a music venue. Try to get independent people who like independent music come listen to this music and have activists there. And then when it's over, invite them all to the screening the next day of either the 3 episodes of the docuseries or the whatever, where there's vegan food and there's also literature, how they can see the film, and although the set I've done, which really emphasizes the healing or the power of music. There's power of music to heal, power of music to inspire, power of music. There's all these different things, and so the set came out of it's just beautiful, like spirit made this perfect set that works perfectly, that is kind of healing, I think. And I've been testing it out at these open mics, and people have really gravitated to it. And it's not vegan stuff, so it's not vegan, although 3 songs I get to mention my vegan journey, and one of them mentions veganism. But the real activism, I think, comes in trying to get these people who would never do that in the past to be open to checking out something that maybe they wouldn't because they like the music. So yeah, we're hoping to do that tour and work with activists, and we're looking for people to help us organize that at some point.
Amazing. So if you are out there, you're an activist and you have connections, maybe can help Thomas find a location, please, let us know. In fact, we do have Periel with us, who is a musician. She's in Los Angeles, and she recommended Kulak's Woodshed as a cool place to
Awesome.
come.
After the East Coast tour, we hope to go to the West Coast, and all the places we went taking the movie around, which LA is definitely one of them, would be part of that. But that would probably be later in the summer, more than likely. But I will keep a note of that place, that venue.
Great, great. That is awesome. And definitely there's, networking between all these vegan musicians to help one another and support this incredible tour. I love this idea. I'll definitely be a groupie and join in to one of the concerts. That sounds like fun. Also, there's a question here that Nicole is saying that she loves this music and knows a young adults Christian group called Common Ground in West Island, Montreal. I would love it, what you're putting together. They do Christian karaoke during the services.
Wow.
And she is wondering if you could send the link and copyright information to send it to them. So I can do that if it's in the chat. I
Yeah,
can certainly do that.
sure.
Yeah.
And I own anybody can do anything they want with this music. It's totally, to me, it's open source. Like if you have, I think I read somebody's a puppeteer, and if they're wanting to borrow, they can borrow. Like go to Sunshine Lemonade to your favorite streaming service, and anything that we have out now. And once we get the new CD out, you're always welcome to use it for any videos or whatever. You can just let me know so I can watch it.
Perfect. That's so kind of you to make it open to everyone. We can
But
share.
in the vegan movement, there's no question asked. The movie, the second we made it, it was always like anybody screening it, never a charge, like go for it. Like it's here for a purpose. Please go.
Yeah. And Rebecca's asking, how has your Georgia/Southern meat eating background influenced you? And are you going to write about it?
Hmm. I think in the documentary I mentioned it, and I don't know if I want to explore it more than that. I mean, I feel like so removed from that. Like this. Here's the other thing about the tour. It's next year I turn 20 as a vegan. It's my 20-year vegan. So I'm like I'll be 58 in February. So 58, 20-year vegan in good health, creating like crazy. Like I feel like that's part of some of it too. Like when you get in front of people, like, dude, like I think people are shocked when they go to these things because they don't expect someone at this age to be so like with that kind of energy. Like when I get up and sing, dude, I like put it all in there. Like, and they're not always used, and definitely they go, "Ooh, what's going on?"
There's another question here too, also from Nicole. Does Fred Penner sing your songs?
I don't know who that is. Who is that? Nobody like these are haven't been out there yet. Like they're all we never were screamed. All the stuff we did were on CDs, and unless you came and saw us, you never heard any of this until recently. That's why I'm like trying. And we have a short film we did a soundtrack for. We'll be next. We'll get that done, and I have about 7 other songs for no CD once we get ready. We've got so much material in my mind. I just want to catalog as much stuff as I possibly can and put it out there.
And one question here from Paige, she's asking, do you think people know about your series on Unchained TV?
I don't know, but that's one of the things I was hoping to talk about. We did talk about the series, and it's on Unchained, and it's available on YouTube, Video, and Unchained if you have the app and can see it.
Cool. And that is the Compassion in Action series.
Compassion in Action, bringing the elixir home. The thing is, I don't think a lot of people have seen it either. And what's interesting is so many people have seen it, hadn't seen it. Like one of this doctor in Washington, D.C. had me they screened the Prayer for Compassion just a few weeks ago or a month ago. And he didn't realize he was in the docuseries. I said, yeah, you're in there with your little baby, holding her, being in an interview. And then they showed him the scene. He was like, oh my God. And they showed me a picture of the baby who was like that, or who's grown now, who's like a teenager or whatever. But yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Well, we got some intel on the Fred Penner, who is a Canadian icon. He's a folk singer who sings children's.
I don't know him, but I know Raffi. I love Raffi. I think might be Canadian too. That's one of the things with Melody's toddler young life. I put Pandora on, and I discovered Raffi basically. He started out wanting to be like Bob Dylan or something, but then his partner who became his wife was an elementary school teacher, and he became known for his children's stuff. But he always did really good productions of the music and great harmonies. All of that.
We have another question for you, and this is from Jolly. I have always been a vegetarian and turned vegan 3 years back. I have a dog, Husky, but it looks like she's preparing a non-vegan food for the pup. I always wonder if he can be vegan too, as when I buy this, I feel guilty and I don't want to do an injustice to him. I need your guidance.
No, I'll tell you one thing. There's no question about dogs being vegan. Dogs can definitely be vegan. In the United States, it's pretty easy. Like I've got a dog, and I feed her. What is it? The veg dog? Veg. Oh, hold on.
The veg. Let's see. Yes, there are definitely vegan dog foods. There's even new cat foods out there.
You're in for a treat.
Yes, yes.
Hello. See if she said, hey, guess what? I'm in the vegan spirituality gathering. How you doing?
Good.
I don't know if you guys can see it. Just say hello to everybody.
Oh, I
Okay.
think we.
I just answered so you could see her or whatever.
Hey,
All right.
is that Melody?
Yeah. Talk to you later. Bye bye. Yes.
So Melody is Thomas's daughter, who is featured in the film A Prayer for Compassion.
Yeah.
So great to see Melody.
Yeah, V Dog, that's it, V Dog. And there's the other one, somebody else put the other ones in there. And also there's recipes online. Like when I first got her before I got V Dog, I was making rice, and I got a recipe that had rice and some other things in it. But yeah, dogs are cats are a little more suspect, but dogs for sure. They can eat. My friend's dog loved fruit. Like he ate everything. They're omnivores for sure. They can eat both, but they do fine. Like I think I met a vet along the way who said that they had, and Victoria had them on their podcast, that said the oldest dog they knew was a vegan dog. Lived very long and was healthy.
Yeah, it looks like we have a vegan friend, Dennis, who's watching, and I know he had a vegan dog that lived very long in good health.
Yeah, and I agree with you. They have vegan cat food too, and the problem with the vegan cat food is that sometimes it's hard to find in the United States, and they end up you have to pay $60 a bag and stuff. So Yeah, but they have both. They have both. But I'm just saying there's no controversy at all around the dogs. Some people say cats are obligated carnivores and all this, but I know there's been lots of cats that have been healthy too. So
Well, and there are some vegan veterinarians. Our Mighty May is one of them. I believe her website is veganvet.com. I
when
think that's
she's
right.
in the film, she's in the film if you remember.
Yes.
Yes, and and
And so she has lots of resources about that.
Yeah.
yes.
In the film also Maya. Do you remember Maya from Israel? She's a
Yes,
veterinarian from Israel,
yes.
and we used to talk when we were trying because she's went on a lot of our journeys in the documentary, the first documentary, and we used to talk about we'd meet other vets along the way, and the joke was that my next documentary needed to be something about don't eat your patients or something geared toward vets, but I just don't have the resources. But it would be an awesome when somebody should definitely cover it because it's funny that you care for these animals and then you just so right before he goes gets killed because he's somebody's property and he's gonna make money and if he's not healthy he's not getting fatter or whatever. So it's all about money.
One other question for you, and then we might need um, to wrap it up. But we do have CJ is wondering how to access the docuseries. Is there a link for that?
If you're on Unchained TV, it's on Unchained. If you can't find that, you can go to YouTube and just go. You can either put in Compassion in Action, bringing the Elixir home, or you can put in the Compassion Project. Let me see if I can find a link to that. And there's other videos on that. Like if you, there's excerpts and from the films and also things we didn't use, different interviews and things. You can, yeah, it's a pretty good site if you want to check it
No problem. I will
out.
put it link in here for
Let's
everyone.
see if I can find
Um, no worries, Thomas. I got it. Okay. So there's a link to the
it.
Compassion Film Project
Did you?
Film. Yes, got it. We're good.
Yeah, the Compassion Project film right there.
Yes. I
Awesome.
wanted to, as we bring our wonderful interview and musical jam with Thomas to a close, wanted to just see Judy or Thomas if we wanted to do the closing.
I think I'm hoping Thomas was going to do that. I think we talked a little bit about it, and he's so good at that sort of thing.
Let's
Um,
see. He's
are you look there you are. You were frozen there for a minute. Are you up for
I'll give.
doing a closing for
Oh,
us?
I'll give it a shot. One of the songs on the album that's coming up is called "Tammy Shines Her Light," and making this movie has connected me to lots of Facebook people. I have over almost 6,000 Facebook followers now, and over 5,000, or right at 5,000 friends. And you can no longer do it. You become professional or whatever. But one of those people that was my Facebook friends who I've never met, she every other day she posts this gratitude thing, all the things she's grateful for. And I ended up writing a song about her using the things she was grateful for in the song. It's one of my favorite songs. But I bring this up because I really believe that gratitude is one of the most superpowers we have. Like if you want to manifest something in this world, find ways to be grateful for what you have and for the process and for every little victory. Every time a new song comes, I jump up and down. I'm so excited and I just say, thank you, thank you, thank you. Because I feel this gift has come through. And so I feel I just want to encourage us all, as before we leave, to just be present together and to take a deep breath and just try to feel that gratitude, like just really let it soak through your every ounce of your being. Just I feel so much gratitude right now for being together tonight, for being with everyone who's here with us, and and with Judy and Lisa, who I feel like are my soul family, who I just don't get to see. And this is a beautiful thing I just put out to the universe right now, that it brings us all together in many opportunities to share space together this next year, and that all of us on this call, that we find times that we meet along the road. If I do run across you, give me a hug. You know, we're all connected and we're all powerful, and it will be with us. And I love the fact that when I do see Judy again, or any one of you, the moment that we're in now will be there. Every moment I reconnect with someone I haven't seen in so long, it feels like we never left, like we just reconnected, or we just carried on, like it never stopped. It was this thing where all this other stuff happened, and here we are again. So I encourage us all to look forward to opportunities where not just the people here, but in all of our life, where we learn to be uniters. There's so much division in this world. I have to throw through us every day and find ways for us to spread love and peace and joy everywhere we go. It's so easy not to be reactive, to realize the people that we disagree with, whatever side we're on, whatever disagreement we have, there's so much fear being spewed both ways that people are in fear. So we have to walk in compassion with everyone we see, especially those we disagree with. We have to hold compassion. We have to hold to our truth and what we're here to do and our purpose. And we ask Spirit to guide us in that, to keep us strong in our purpose, to guide us in our purpose at the same time to make us gentle as we walk through this earth, where everyone we touch, we leave with a beautiful piece of light, where they're wanting this sweet thing we have, this beautiful thing we have. Veganism and plant-based lifestyle is such a beautiful, it connects you with all life. It allows you to just be present with everyone. Don't forget that those we agree with are also our brothers and sisters, and we're here walking each other home. And I invite you all to and take care of yourselves and have compassion with yourselves, and extend that through all the people in your lives and the people that are out of your lives and beyond your lives and the planet. Just let's hold in our hearts just love for all beings and all the planet, and know that everything is exactly on schedule, and we can show up in faith that we will be guided and our purpose will unfold as we say yes to each step that is led to us and that we are led to. For this, I say thank you, and I thank each of you, and I send love and peace and joy and just gratitude for you being here, and just um,
Oh, thank you so much, Thomas. I feel as though we had a blessing,
for
blessed.
if you're
Yeah.
vegan and if you're pre-vegan or whatever, like I give you thanks for all the ways you're bringing compassion into the
Oh,
world.
thank you
Thank
so,
you.
Thank you,
thank you for
Thomas.
I don't know
being.
what's going to
So wonderful.
be said. It just kind of flows.
Just perfect.
Yes, yes. We believe
I
in miracles.
needed to hear that.
Well,
My heart is really my, my biggest my biggest heart. I mean, the biggest thing I want to do in my life is inspire people to love themselves. Yeah, man.
well, thank
That's
you,
what you
Thomas.
The
do
world needs
every
all of us to
day.
be following our purpose, and to be loving ourselves and those around
Yeah,
us. I really, truly believe that.
that's who you are. You just live that all the time. So beautiful. Thank you so much, Thomas, for being with us and sharing your tremendous wisdom and
And
love.
thank you to everyone who's joined us, even the first timers. We're so excited that you're
So
part of our vegan spiritual community. We are blessed to be together this evening, sharing some.
just so you know, I see you both as, just so you know, I see you both as my mentors.
Oh,
You're both mentors to me. Like you're both inspirations. And like before I ever met you, as I researched spirituality and veganism, I discovered you before I ever met you and just read the stuff you had written. And you've taught me so much. Like that's the thing about making the documentary. I got to meet all of you and all the Will Tuttle and all these beautiful people, and you've all just changed my life, and so I can't thank you enough.
Well, we are.
Well, you've changed our lives too, Thomas. It's beautiful. Everything you've done has been such a gift to the world.
Yes, we're very fortunate and such a pleasure to spend this time together to hear about all this sunshine lemonade you're spreading everywhere. And we hope to hear more of your songs and join you on your road tour, the road trip. That'll be so fun. And thanks to everybody for joining us this evening. It's really
Yes,
special to be here together uh,
yes.
in a virtual vegan land. So, thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. We're so grateful to everyone who's joined, to Thomas and to Judy for co-hosting this evening. Have a beautiful, wonderful rest of your evening and a lot of sunshine coming up in the next few
Yes.
days in your life.
Love to
Okay.
all. Love to all beings everywhere.
To all beings. Good night, all.
Good night.